All right, we are recording and just finished reading chapter 2 of, yes, that direction, the Star Wars Trilogy. So this chapter 2 of A New Hope. So we've got, relative to the movies, we finally meet Luke. There's a scene there that is not in the movies, but due to the interrogation of Vader, by Vader of Leia, and I do want to talk about something that I do find actually quite interesting. The change there, and I do wonder how that will play out in the book. And also R2D2 and C3PO on Tatooine split up and are then captured by the Jawas. Yeah, I guess starting with Leia is kind of interesting because her description in chapter 1 was different already. Just making her sound much more like smaller and physically weaker, but that might have also been just to help describe that the stormtroopers are large and armored and such, and they're soldiers. She's not. But in this, kind of continues with that, but it's also very interesting that she is given a much more fiery personality. Like, even, with the whole, we're on a diplomatic mission. No, you're part of the Rebel Alliance. At the end of that, when she's being let off, she actually spits at Vader, and it describes it as, like he just kind of brushes it off, but also, starts boiling off because his armor is still hot from the battle. And it's just that's quite a different Leia than we know from the movies. So I am curious to see how that may play out because in the movies, Leia's portrayed much more controlled. She would not do that. More of a politician, I guess, in a certain way. It's like having to think up here and not act here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And also I did look. Apparently the novel came out in 1976, the movie's in 1977. So yes, there would be things that would have to be changed for the movie. So there was that point I wanted to talk about. And just I am curious to see how that will play out. One thing that's also it is actually interesting for a specific point. So, we know the blockade runner and the massive Star Destroyer. Well, in the book, I don't recall really mentioning much about the size, but one thing that's striking in the movie is the Star Destroyer is so large it actually comes down and can engulf the whole of the blockade runner, actually pull it up into that bay. In this, no, it's they have an access way that extends out, and actually, when they're done, Vader orders it destroyed. The blockade runner destroyed. So that is interesting, mainly because that had to be a decision to change to have it be so large, which makes a lot of sense because it does help depict, since film is a visual medium, help depict the difference in power and strength that the Empire is so large, so powerful that it has these massive ships that can then engulf these other ships. So that and just that difference in size there, because that is something that it would matter more in a movie than in a book. And just thinking about that, and yeah, I guess I don't really have more than that to say. Okay, so now I have a couple things concerning Luke. As that he was introduced, he's working on the moisture evaporators, and he spots something, looking off, he spots something, pulls out the binoculars and looks, and he actually was seeing the battle between the two ships in orbit, and so his reaction is immediately to get down and to head off to Tashi Station, because he does visit it. It's not just a reference in the movie, but he does visit it, to tell his friends. One thing that may help set some stuff up is the droid that was there helping him. It describes how, it's supposed to have 6 arms, only 3 are working, and it is so slow trying to get to the speeder before he goes off, and also it just starts being stuck in a tight circle because it just can't, it's not functioning right. So that would help set up that they need to get new droids for this, even though I'm not sure how. I mean, R2D2 would be the one that's actually mechanically going to be useful, but he's not described as having 6 arms. Anyway, so just going to be interesting to see how some of that gets explained. But it is also kind of set up that, yeah, by him just leaving the robot there, it's going to be stolen. There are people that just go around, find droids to pick up and sell, and also people to pick up and sell. So yeah, lovely place, Tatooine. But we already kind of knew that one. But what is more interesting to me is a characteristic that they gave Luke here that I don't feel is in the movies, at least not that clearly, and is one of those. I do want to see how this pays off, because it can also be paid off in a very interesting way, potentially. I guess it really depends more so on the setup, and how the character is managed throughout. Because in Star Wars, in the movie, it really isn't until Luke sees the homestead on fire and his aunt and uncle killed that he decides, okay, yes, I'm gonna go. There's nothing left for me here. So it is basically that event has given him a reason to leave versus him truly just choosing to leave. So in the book, as I said, he rushes off to see his friends at Tashi Station, and he tells them that, hey, there's a battle going on in space, and they're all like, yeah, sure, kid. Yeah, no, it's true. And they eventually follow him out, and it's basically being described as a cried wolf too many times, that he's just very imaginative. And so they do spot the ships, but it's like, yeah, they're probably just there because we don't have an orbital dock, and they're just, moving things between them. There's nothing here. There wasn't a battle. So it's interesting, the setup that he's a very imaginative person, and, potentially just being lost in the adventures that he's coming up with, which would help explain his desire to leave. But it is just interesting to me, because this could also be setting up that, yes, he's constantly seeing these things, but he has that fear of leaving, just like Obi-Wan points out in the movies, it's like, that's your uncle talking, and that the whole, I have responsibilities here and all that. And just that kind of thing, it feeds, that setup feeds into it. You can definitely see how that would work, and I'm curious to see if it is used that way, or if it's just he's a 20-year-old and doesn't like where he is, so he has daydreams. Is it going to be much more an actual part of his character that is then applied in the whole him refusing the quest and then it being forced on him, where he then has to accept the quest, because that's a traditional part of the hero's journey, but setting it up with the imagination as opposed to, I'm just thinking in at least one other movie that my copy is down there, that's why I'm also looking down there, where it's handled a bit differently. It's not so much the choosing not to or choosing to go. Well, actually, in a way, that he does choose to go there. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how that works out. I think that's kind of it. I kind of want to try to explain that point a little bit better. Just the whole. Maybe I don't need to, but the idea that somebody can have all these dreams, all these visions, but when he actually offered to enter into them, plenty of people will say no, and so that is potentially what is being set up here. I'm looking forward to seeing if that is explored in that way. Like, do we continue to see references to him being imaginative, such that when he is offered the opportunity to leave, when he finally has that escape, he chooses, no, I can't, I need to do things here. Which isn't to say that he's cowardly or anything like that, but just he likes the imagination, he likes the dream. It's like some people, they can dream about visiting the world, but if you can also just give them the books where they can read, that they're going to be perfectly happy and never leave their hometown, kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's still, are they going to play it out in that way? Is something I'm curious about, and do look forward to finding out. There's another thought that entered my mind, but it left me. So yeah, I guess this can just be a short video. So yeah, will be interesting to see what happens next, and also if I ever stop comparing it to the movies. Probably not. Yeah, I am just, hang on, now I'm just trying to think, were there any other, no real large deviations from the. Oh, sorry, I did forget one thing. This actually is important. Yep, it's a second note. Because I stopped looking at the notes. So Biggs, like even in the movie, you when you meet Biggs, he's like, "Hey, Luke," and they're talking, they're good buddies, all that. What is interesting is in the book, and I think that there may have even been like a filmed scene that just wasn't the theatrical cut, those two talking. So Biggs went to the Imperial Academy, has decided, because of things that he's heard about and seen, he's going to join the rebels. Okay. He's like, oh, I have to tell somebody, because he's come back to visit Tatooine before leaving. And once he gets his assignment, he and some friends are going to join the Alliance. But he has to tell somebody, so he tells Luke, because it seems they're best friends, and also he's described as being older, so probably also an older brother element there as well. But what I find interesting about this, Luke doesn't really have a reaction to being told that Biggs is going to join the rebels. And I was like, this is technically an act of treason. It's like it is a traitor's act, and nothing out of Luke. So I find that curious, because it kind of implies that to Luke, it doesn't matter, that there's no real difference between the rebels and the Empire, which, to be fair, Tatooine is supposed to be so remote that no one cares one way or the other about the plans, so why would anyone living on Tatooine care one way or the other about them? But it still is... I find it interesting that there is no pushback at all, because it still is the whole... the Galactic Empire, we technically are citizens of it and all that. Nothing at all. And I don't know, it's just it seems too easy, like a drop of the hat. Oh, I'm going to join the Rebel Alliance. All right. Have fun storming the castle. I mean, it's like, shouldn't there be more here? I guess we'll see. But it is, maybe that also just, is part of the whole with Luke. Any adventure is an adventure, and he wants an adventure kind of thing, at least as far as his imagination goes. But then when he's offered the adventure initially, he says no and ends up taking it up and all that. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how that goes, because it is also, I mean, I get the whole, no, I'm not going to turn you in, but why are you doing this? And Biggs is even like, well, man, there are things I've heard, things I've seen that if you'd heard them, if you'd seen them, you'd be right there with me. But it doesn't even feel necessary to say that to Luke. Like, he's like, I don't care. I mean, it's like, so you're doing this. Okay, well, how do you think you can do that? I mean, if it was easy to find the rebels for you to join them, then the Empire would have found them and eliminated them. So how are you going to do this? Like, your idea is kind of dumb, even. But Biggs, to his credit, though, he does say, I'll just do what I can on my own. But yeah, it is just that I appreciate, but it is just Luke's like, whatever. I don't care one way or the other. I want adventure. Is just, I don't remember if I was that. Well, yeah, I'll say it. I don't remember if I was that stupid when I was 20, but it does kind of seem like he just had total indifference. Almost to the level of being aloof with this all, and it's like, should he be that way? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not. It is one of those things. To help clarify, it is one of those things I notice in the movie, even where he seems really comfortable with, like, yeah, let's just go join the rebels. It's like, where's the setup here? Not really even in the book, and that would have been a place for it. But anyway, is what it is. And it would be one of those things. How I talk about, good criticism, bad criticism. I would consider that bad criticism. So it's something that, for me, when telling a story, I don't necessarily have one that would work out like this. To make sure that I try not to have such a non-reaction when doing stuff like that. So, hey, that's the point. Learn, and obviously very popular stories, but it's, still, you can learn from them and find things that maybe you don't like so much. So it's like, I want to do it better. Because to me, it's like there should be some reaction provoked by that. Anyway, I will stop. See you next time.